All right, you are listening to Queer Sounds, where we play music by LGBT artists and music that affects the LGBT community. Hey, it's finally happened, listeners. We've been talking about it for a few weeks, and we do have the one and only Blake McIver with us. So for those of you who don't know, Blake has been in the entertainment industry since a very early age. I mean, incredibly early. Acting, singing, songwriting, producing. Listen to these credits. TV and film credits include The Little Rascals, Full House, Star Search, as well as co-star appearances on The Drew Carey Show, Clueless, Home Improvement, and The Nanny. Theater credits include Chess, The Light in the Piazza, Carousel, Hairspray. His voiceover and animation credits include Tarzan, The Little Mermaid II, Anastasia, Recess, Hey Arnold, and the list goes on.
Dang.
But most importantly, his recent credit in April of last year, he released his solo album, The Time Manipulator. So we would like to welcome to Queer Sounds, Blake. How are you, my friend?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. I'm so glad that we could finally connect. You know, we connected a few weeks ago on Twitter, where we love to connect with our musicians, and so I'm glad that we could make it happen.
Absolutely. God bless social media, right?
I know. Tell me about it. Absolutely. So, hey, why don't you give our listeners some context, right? So, where and when did you start this magic ride that you've been on?
Totally. Well, with this particular project, you mean, or just in general?
Let's go all the way back to the Star Search and Calendar Girl days.
Oh, my gosh. Well, all the way back in the Stone Ages.
All the way back.
Yeah, I always wanted to perform from the time that I was a little toddler. I was always singing and dancing around the house, and my mom finally decided, I guess I should throw you in a dance class or something and let you perform. And I was singing at a dance recital that I was too young to compete in.
Oh, wow.
So the teacher let me sing while the judges tabulated the scores for the bigger kids. And the director of Star Search was one of the judges. And he came up to my mom after the show and said, I think we'd like to have your son on the next season of Star Search. And 6 weeks later, I was on the show and ended up winning for the year, which is what kickstarted me into the business. 6 years old and, didn't know anything, but I just wanted to sing and dance, and, and that was that.
Yeah, that's all it takes, right? Just that passion to sing and dance. That's great. And so you were on Star Search, you won the entire competition, right? And then you went from there to Full House, is that right?
Correct, yeah, and that was an amazing transition thing, too. Some of the writers and producers of Full House seen me perform on Star Search, singing a little patriotic medley, and they thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if Michelle was in a talent show and didn't get the part that she wanted, and some kid was some little boy could out-sing her? Wouldn't that be funny? And so they wrote an episode, and then kind of based on me, but they didn't know if I could act, so it was just sort of I still had to go in and audition and see if that was going to be a thing. And sure enough, they were I was good enough. And
yeah. Well, and you were good enough, and I mean that Yankee Doodle Boy, I think, was probably one of the most iconic scenes in Full House. I mean, when people think of Full House, they think of that scene, that talent show. It's incredible.
It is something that has followed me my entire life.
I bet. I mean, are people still coming up to you asking you to sing that song?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. I'm actually
horrible,
thinking for next 4th of July. What?
I'm just saying, that's horrible. It's oh, you're really? No, I'm done. I was 6.
Well, I'm actually thinking this coming 4th of July in 2015, I'm thinking about releasing a cover with my own spin on the song to finally put everyone to rest and be there, I did it. But it's going to be imagine if Alicia Keys had written the Yankee Doodle Dandy song.
That's
I love
gonna
it.
Be sweet.
I'm stoked already. That's awesome. So then you went from Full House to The Little Rascals.
Correct.
What was that?
That was a little tiny movie that they developed that we kind of didn't think was going to be anything, and then just sort of exploded out of nowhere. I remember even being scared, not thinking that the Full House producers were going to let me out of my contract for enough weeks to finish the filming of the movie.
Sure.
But they were really gracious, and they were no, this is good. This is good for everybody. And sure enough, it took off. And what I can't believe about that movie is that people still watch it and introduce it to their kids, and it still sells DVDs. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. And I will tell you, I am actually one of those people. I'm gonna fangirl for a moment, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
And I was telling people that you were going to be on the show, and when I called my mom to tell her, who's listening tonight, shout out to Mom, I called her to tell her.
Yeah, hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. There you go. I called her to tell her, and she said, "Oh, you're interviewing Waldo?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." She knew how big of a moment it was because I watched the Little Rascals probably every week through my childhood. I'm a little bit of an addict.
Totally. No, it totally resonated with people. It was amazing how it did. We didn't have any idea when we were making it. In fact, right before the movie came out, we went to like a lot of screenings and press junket things, and we went and saw a screening of the Little Giants movie that was coming out the same summer as us. And I walked out of that screening being like, "Well, we're screwed. This movie's going to totally take over. Where nobody's going to see our stupid movie." And it was just the opposite. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it exploded. Absolutely. I mean, anytime we talk about the Little Rascals, people know exactly what we're talking about.
Hey, Blake,
Right.
if it was kind of a surprise to you, what was it? What were your parents? I mean, now that you're kind of an adult, your parents probably have shared this with you, but what was it like for them to be like, "Oh, he's like, this is getting big"?
Right. Well, it's funny because they were aware that it was getting big, but it wasn't particularly as exciting for them as it might have been for other people's parents. My dad was a studio executive and started in the business as a writer-producer. And by the time I was working, he was senior VP of production at Sony.
Wow.
So he kind of had bigger things to deal with, like Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz, and I kind of wasn't that exciting.
Sure.
And my mom started in show business in the late '60s on the Dean Martin show as one of his principal dancers, and then did tours with Bob Hope and Frank Sinatra, and so she had worked with like the ultimate legend. So even though they were thrilled for me, it was still like, everything's relative in my family. We're all in show business, so it's like, it's kind of like call when it's big.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so after that, you did a series of voiceovers that equally influenced my life, right? And then I noticed there was this moment where you kind of pulled yourself back from the public eye, right? And then I have to mention it. There was the Superman selfie, right? Where it just went viral. And all of a sudden, Blake McIver is back in the eye of the public. What was that moment like? What was it like to be back in that public eye?
Well, it was very strange because I all through high school, I was just sort of doing small episodic work and voiceovers and kind of staying out of the public eye. And then when I went to college, I completely dropped off the radar. So it was weird. I hadn't been sort of used to that life anymore. I had kind of, I was producing theater and I was doing very, small, art for passion's sake kind of projects and loving it. But it was when I started doing this reality show on Bravo with a couple of my friends that it was one of those things where I thought, oh, well, we're doing a test run, 3 episodes. This will never get picked up. Like, this is nothing. This is just fun, and I get to do it with my friends, and like it's great. We'll just do this. 3 episodes done, and then they ran that blog. Bravo ran that blog, and then BuzzFeed picked it up, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's that kid from ... And then within. People talk a lot about your phone blowing up, like we use that expression a lot. Yeah. I had never had that experience before, ever, like since my first cell phone, never. And literally woke up one morning with an exploded phone. Like, it was insane. It was wow. It was out of control. Like a good 2 weeks of madness.
I imagine. I think that's what all of us experienced too. We're like, oh my gosh, this is Waldo. This is that kid from Full House, and all of a sudden he's that Superman costume, let me tell you, that was like a flawless costume. It was perfect. But so, of course. So we're here talking about the Time Manipulator by Blake McIver, of course, and we're speaking with him. And before you released this album, you spent some time working on writing music and performing music for other artists, right? So what made you finally decide to jump in and perform your own music as a queer artist? What made you finally say, I want to sing my own songs?
Well, I had been writing the music. I'd been writing a lot of music since I had turned 19, and it was sort of a progression of my journey and sort of becoming okay with myself and coming out and just looking at life through a new lens and being okay with it and being able to just sort of handle it, which was a difficult process, to say the least. And when I finally sat down, I'd kind of been running away from songwriting for many years. I knew I needed to do it, and I just sort of was afraid to. When I finally sat down and wrote like in the first session, 6 songs just came flying out. Three of which ended up on the album. Like they went through many incarnations, but actually made it all the way through. And you know, I was singing with a wonderful queer artist who you might be aware of, Our Lady J. And we were working together in LA, and I was putting her choir together, and we were doing her set list for LA Pride. And she was such an inspiration to me, and she just really mentored me and helped me kind of be one with my music and be one with myself and not be afraid to, you know, show it to the world. And she was such an inspiration. And it really kind of gave me the courage and freedom to say, like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to go into the studio and put these songs down.
That's really incredible. I always admire stories like that. I don't know. I love processes. I'm a process person. So when I can hear the process behind something, I really enjoy it.
Totally.
So talk more about those 3 songs, those first 3 songs that you wrote, and then they made it straight to the Time Manipulator. What were those 3 songs?
Well, the first song was the first single that I released and first video I released, and it was called "Wish I Didn't Need You." And that song, in the sort of trajectory of the album and in the story in the video, it's very much like an ultimate breakup song.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like the really sad, that horrible moment that, you know, so many of us have been through. But in reality, I was struggling with a lot of anxiety and sort of just really intense panic disorders, and I was going to all of these rounds of doctors and trying all of these different medications, and nothing was working, and they couldn't get the right combo, and I just ended up feeling worse and more erratic. And I sat down at the piano that day and literally sitting staring at an empty pill bottle, just so angry that I couldn't control it on my own. And so I wrote it. I wrote the song "I Wish I Didn't Need You" was actually written to the medication.
That's awesome.
Wow. And when, like, as you explain that, that's totally what I feel. I mean, the first thing I think is this is a breakup song, but I don't know. Right. That makes sense. That really makes sense.
Yeah. We chose to go for a more romantic music video than still a bottle, but, you know.
You know what, though? I can picture a lot of our listeners. We have a lot of young listeners, a lot of queer listeners, and I think especially in our community where there's a lot of work trying to eradicate the shame around, you know, people who use medication to feel grounded. And especially in Washington, like, pot is legal here. And so it's like really, like, I think we're really trying to do the work here to get rid of the shame around that. And so I already know a lot of people who are listening tonight that are going to go and like not watch the video while the video is playing and listen to it. And that's going to be like their number 1 song now for the next, you know, month. Now that they know that, because they can relate to that, you know?
Totally.
I mean, we can all relate to breakups too, but I think just that part of, like, everybody can, who's been through that can relate to that song. So absolutely. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and I'm a big proponent of the destigmatizing of, you know, any sort of mental health help. We can all work towards towards that.
Well, it's like being real with one another, right? Like knowing who people are and where people are at, then we know how to show up and support each other.
So true.
So, "Wish I Didn't Need You" was one of those songs that came out from that the first session, right? What were the other 2?
Yes. The other one was a very the sort of kind of the only really happy song on the album. It's called "Start to Believe," and it's kind of a bit of a bossa nova kind of tune. I'm super obsessed with mid-60s Brazilian music, which is very bizarre and random.
It's normal. Who isn't? I mean, really, we all are. It's okay.
Right, aren't we all? And so I have all of these records. I have all of these Antonio Carlos Jobim records and Astrid Gilberto and, like, all these artists, and I'm obsessed with it. Like, a lot of people would call it elevator music, which makes me irate, but, but like, I'm obsessed with these artists and think they've just contributed so much to our American pop music. So I kind of wanted to write a song sort of in that vein, and a version of "Start to Believe" was in that very first songwriting session. It didn't have the same lyrics, but it evolved into "Start to Believe."
Yeah, and so of course, the title of the album is Time Manipulator, right? And so the first time I started listening to it, I don't remember which song it was, but I remember hearing a song and I was thinking, God, this sounds like the 90s meets like 2025. And it was just, as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, the Time Manipulator. Like, I totally feel it. So it's really clear that you're influenced by other like genres and other ages of music.
Totally, and that's the greatest compliment you could ever give me on the whole record. Thank you.
Of course,
it is. When I was pitching it, people were kind of like, "What? Like, you want to do a throwback album?" I'm like, "No, there's future sounds too. It's just it's just inspired. I call it music of the future, inspired by the past. But there's. I definitely, I wanted some like 80s power rock feel in there. I wanted some 90s vibe. I wanted, some mid-century. The mid-century is a little more heavily veiled. It's kind of chord structures and underlying currents. But yeah, no, I'm a Back to the Future fanatic. So it's my musical version of being Marty McFly.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, I want to know, what is it, what has the impact been on you as an out musician just from being out?
Well, the thing that was amazing that I wasn't prepared for was just how quickly embraced by the community my music was. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of it thanks to blogs and thanks to the internet and thanks to Twitter and Facebook, mm-hmm. like people sharing the songs and sharing on YouTube, sharing the videos. I was able to reach an audience that I didn't think would ever be possible for me to reach, which was amazing. Because, you play a show and you can, at best you can be in front of a couple thousand people, normally a couple hundred, mm-hmm. And you just think, okay, well, that's my art, and there it is. So it's amazing that I can actually reach people. And, this album, it does have a very specific message. It's about empowerment, and it was specifically written to encourage anyone who's struggling, but specifically because it's based on my story, specifically LGBT people who are struggling. And so I'm speaking directly to us. And so the fact that I can do that and have the opportunity to share that is amazing. It's an unbelievable blessing.
Yeah, and so I have a question for you. I know, for Queer Sounds, we only play LGBT artists on our show or music that really influences the LGBTQ community. And we have conversations with our favorite queer artists all the time, especially around Pride, where, Pride organizers want the queer artists to come and play on the stage, but they might offer you $500 and a couch to hang out on, but then they'll find like $30,000 for whatever the hottest straight pop whatever. And so
for Jennifer Hudson to come in.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And so we're massive advocates for people supporting our independent LGBTQ artists, but I want to know, who are the fans and how are people able to access you and support you, and what can we do to help you get that empowering message and get your music into more hands, especially of queer communities, but also just that anyone that could benefit from hearing your music.
Totally. Thank you. The album is on iTunes and Amazon for purchase, but you can also stream it on SoundCloud and on Spotify. So you can get the music without having to purchase it.
Don't say that, Justin. Don't tell people that. Check it out and then go buy it, everyone. It's what we do best.
Well, exactly. I mean, it still counts. The stream still counts from a publishing perspective.
Okay.
But, of course, I do appreciate every purchase.
Yeah.
But you can do that, and you can also a lot of this. The music videos are on YouTube, so you can watch all of that. And that's just youtube.com/Blake McIver. And then I update just about daily on my Facebook page, which is Blake McIver Official.
Yeah.
And you can also find me on Twitter at Blake McIver. It's all very easy. It's all Blake McIver. There's
all connected.
I like it.
There's no tricky thing except for the website and Facebook, and those are both Blake McIver Official.
Official. Blake McIver Official. So, are you planning on touring with the Time Manipulator?
Yes, we're actually working on dates right now. I'm in the process of actually talking to quite a few Pride festivals for the summer, so that I can actually get out and see cities and see people in cities that I wouldn't normally get to see. So yes, and all of that will be posted both on the website and the Facebook page as they come in. But yes, 2015 is the year of getting music in person to people.
Awesome! It's time to manipulate time. That's hard to say. It's time to manipulate time. I like it. So, what do we expect next? Of course, there's a tour, but I mean, is there a second album coming? What should we see next?
There is a new single that is about to be recorded. I'm actually going into the studio in February to record the single and do the video in March. So I'm very excited, and it kind of represents the next step in my sort of musical tale, so to speak.
Sure.
This Time Manipulator was all about, sort of making peace with the past, so to pave way for the future. And so now I'm sort of writing towards the future, and this new single off what I hope will become the new EP it's basically a marriage equality anthem. And what I'm hoping is that by the time it hits iTunes in April, when the discussions start, hopefully we will have a verdict by June, and it'll all sort of coincide. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. That's sort of my passion.
That's so fantastic, because then you can like triple your fees for those those prides, and especially if they're having you be the song that does the, they marry everybody, on Pride Day, and then they have the rock star sing. So that would be like, triple, quadruple your prices.
It would be awesome. I just, we're all hoping for that verdict. So it would just be great to be able to celebrate it in song.
Absolutely.
Well, you're listening to Queer Sounds, and we are interviewing Blake McIver, and this is kind of a fun interview, Blake, because I feel like we get to know, we got the full kind of history of how you came to be right now. Now, I want to ask you some questions that we ask all the queer artists that we interview on our show.
Totally.
I'll just, it's a little heads up. So we have a tagline that in every show we say, Queer Sounds, it's what's for dinner. And that's kind of like, we have a, TV trade dinner as our logo.
Nice.
And so we ask all of our artists to sing in their kind of style, Queer Sounds, it's what's for dinner. And so Morgan and I we'll do it how it sounds on the show. And then before you go, if you could just sing us a little Queer Sounds, it's what's for dinner. No pressure.
Absolutely. No, that's fun. I like it.
Okay, so before that, boxers or briefs?
Oh, briefs, definitely.
Thank God.
Okay.
And the smaller, the better.
Good answer. Good answer.
Okay,
I don't like a lot of bulk under my skinny jeans.
Oh, yeah. It depends on the pants. I always think it just depends on the pants.
I agree.
Okay. Well, this is how Morgan and I usually do our little theme thing. Queer Sounds. It's what's for dinner. Now you can sing it because we don't sing, but you can do your style, and then we'll piece it together, and
all right.
And let us know, like, this is Blake McIver, and then do your Queer Sounds. It's what's for dinner magic.
Okay, so I intro it with "This is Blake McIver."
Sure.
Cool. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. This is Blake McIver. Queer Sounds, it's what's for dinner.
That was so good.
That was awesome.
Oh, thanks, Blake.
I love it.
You're welcome.
This has been a lot of fun. I've really had a blast. And I have to say thank you so much for your time and your music and your inspiration. I mean, you really do have this message of empowerment, and it rings true through all of your songs. So I really appreciate your inspiration. It means a lot to us and to our listeners. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you both so much. This has been such a pleasure being on the show. Yeah,
and if you have anything you want, us to help get out to the world, then definitely let us know. And if you need to come on back for an interview, we'd talk to you anytime.
We would, and we would especially promote you when you're coming to Spokane for our Pride.
Totally. It's on the list. I sent them a packet. So.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll pull some strings for you. We'll pull some strings. We'd love to have you.
Awesome. That would be great.
Cool. Well, it's been an absolute joy. We're gonna send you out with one of my favorites, the very first song I played of yours on Queer Sounds, which is "The Bad Guy." Thanks, Blake.
Nice. Thank you.
told me I was your dreamy hero, and I said, baby, let's just take it slow. You know I've been here before, so don't test me. Your pretty face ain't the only thing I see. I think you're lying to me. I don't know why I even tried.